panel, this is my favorite panel. It gets really fun. This is where you'll get the most value, I think, in terms of enjoyment and in terms of your takeaway from this day. We heard a lot of things. We heard about a lot of factors that are important in launching a food product, and one of the things that was emphasized over and over again was the power of the media, be it digital, print, blog, traditional newspaper, magazine, print magazine, television. Ruben is a perfect, just great, amazing, unbelievable, real-life example. Eric can speak a little bit to that. And so what we did here with this panel is we got some of New Jersey, the cream of the crop. This is New Jersey's food media all-star team. All right? And what we're going to do is we're going to be a little bit like the first panel. You're basically just going to tell them why they should give journalistic attention to your food product. It's pretty much that simple. You're at a trade show and you see the press badge that's got the special color, and you say, "Hey Ed, I get your magazine. How about writing about my product? It's made in Atlantic City restaurants offer the sauce or what have you, or Peter Star Ledger, Edward Jersey, Jersey Bites. This is all coverage that can really make it happen for your company. They have credibility that's been built up over decades that they confer onto you when they cover your product. So it's not something that's easy to make happen. And after this session, hopefully you'll have a little bit more of a perspective on how this happens. So I'll just let each panelist and our moderator, Erica, introduce themselves, and then we'll throw it out to you guys for your pitches, so you have it ready. Start with that.
Okay, I'll just give you, since I already introduced myself before, just what Jersey Bites is about, so you know how to pitch to us. We only cover food products in New Jersey, obviously. So the first hook is that you need to tell me that it's a product that was born and raised in New Jersey. We are a digital publication. We publish daily, and we have a very quick turnaround time. So we can get a story up if it's a timely piece. We can get it up very quickly for you. If there's an award you've won, or if there's something like that that you want to tell the world about, or if you get an upcoming event that's really special, that might be something that would fit. So that's us.
Quick question: does the product have to be produced in New Jersey, or just made?
As long as there's a story tied to New Jersey.
Ed?
I publish Hitzel's.
Ed Hitzel.
Ed Hitzel, sorry. Hitzel's Dining Magazine in South and Central Jersey. I also have a monthly publication. I host a 3-hour radio show every Saturday in South Jersey. And I host a TV segment on NBC 40. And I also manufacture a spice, 2 versions. The other one's over there.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'll let you know how it is.
And I'm always looking for folks with new products. The last time I was here, I think 4 or 5 of the people who were here appeared on my radio show and TV show. And we're always looking for interesting, innovative, creative ideas to introduce to the public.
How long have you been a food journalist for?
Pardon me?
How long have you been doing food journalism?
All my life. I was a restaurant critic for the Atlantic City Press for 17 years. I was a reporter for the Atlantic City Press for 30 years. Jeez. I've been publishing these since 1994. I'm not that old.
So they over 30.
Something like that.
Nancy?
My name is Nancy Painter. I founded Edward Jersey in 2007, and we're now published 6 times a year. Our tagline is basically we celebrate the local food of the Garden State, and we're more the story of food. People will often think, well, you do restaurant reviews or product reviews, but we really are looking for the story behind the food. So that's why today's been so enjoyable to hear so many of your stories.
Peter?
Pete Genovese, I'm a reporter at the Star-Ledger, the state's biggest paper. I'm a feature writer, but I write a lot about food. We have a summer kind of food patrol called the Munchmobile that's quite well known. And as I said, I write a lot about food. And I also write for our magazine. We did this big, not expose, it's not the right word, but with the best diners in New Jersey. So I went to like 55 diners in 11 days. 11 days, and lived to tell the tale, and picked the best diner in New Jersey, different categories, and I've also written 10 books. This book is really about the only book that covers the whole food scene in New Jersey. It's called The Food Lover's Guide to New Jersey, and my latest book was actually nothing to do with New Jersey, but it's a book on best pizza in New York, called Pizza City, available on Amazon. And I'd be happy to answer, obviously, any questions. And just real quick, we're all sort of four different. We're all media, but we're all four very different, there's two magazines, and the magazines really couldn't be they're very different from each other. Online food source and a newspaper, so you can't send the same pitch. I guess that's my main message. You can't, you have to know who you're sending it to and tailor it, personalize it. So
There's one thing you learned the entire day today. That could be it.
Customize.
And that would,
I have a question for you. Why do you stay so thin?
It's the Munchmobile's out
Move
there.
it fast, right?
It's the most important words in what I do. I do a lot of eating. It staggers me sometimes, but the two most important words: pace yourself. Sample. Don't finish the whole plate. So that's really key.
Erica?
Hi, my name is Erica Collins. I have about 20 years of local and national media and public relations experience. I worked for MSNBC, Fox News Channel, HBO, Time Warner, the United States Chamber of Commerce Broadcast Studios, and the United States House and Senate Radio Television Press Galleries. Currently, I have a Blog Talk radio show, which is kind of where Ruben got his start with me. And I eventually became Ruben's Media and Public Relations Director and Consultant. I want to thank Rutgers and Diane, she's not in here, Diane Poltorek, for giving me the chance to be on the panel today. And I kind of wanted to hit a couple of points that I think are important with Ruben's journey and what we achieved. The first thing was, as you saw when Ruben came up here, he's a very eloquent speaker. But what really resonated from his speech wasn't so much the flowery words, but kind of the unspoken words. We're coming from a generation that's experienced 9/11, the dot-com boom and bust, housing crisis, on and on and on to the banks that were too big to fail. And he kind of embodied this answer, this pretty happy disposition about simply making a career change. And that's what actually became very impressive about his story. When he first came to me, as he stated, he gave me a press release. And I read the press release, and then I did a little research, and I found out that the press release was actually a template from the Specialty Food Association. But the press release was about the Specialty Food Association. And it had highlights in there of Marcus Samuelsson coming, but very little about him and his product. So the first thing we did was we rewrote the press release. And he wanted to kind of come from the angle of being a history maker. He was the first African American in that category. He was the first Philly-based drink. So we kind of promoted that to the Specialty Foods Association. The second thing, which many of you might actually be dealing with right now, you might have a couple quotes from people who tried your product. You might have some material from a newspaper such as the Star-Ledger or the magazines where somebody has covered your story, but it's all over the place, right? So the next thing you're going to have to do is actually create a press kit, and a proper press kit, so that you can communicate to the journalists exactly what your story is. The third phase was to talk about distribution. Now there are different levels of distribution. He had emphasized that he had actually went to kind of a media speed dating. Has anybody experienced that? Okay. That was new for me. Maybe that's coming from the national local kind of on the spot news. The speed dating was kind of interesting. But when you get ready to introduce your product to different markets, or contests, you want to target your media lists to that in particular environment. So that was another system that we went through. And fortunately, with 20 years, 30, 40, however many years of experience, you gain a lot of context. Those people who were interns or reporters or producers now become the people who are decision makers at the actual studio or decision makers at the actual paper or magazine. And that was one thing that I was able to kind of bring to the table for Rubin. Then what happened, my role kind of became Olivia Pope, minus the scandal part. And I take that because a lot of my background starts in DC. Being on Capitol Hill, which many of the journalists know here, you become the press relations person for all the press secretaries, for all the congressional leaders, and you become the press person for all of the media, national, political, local, and such. So during the time that I was there, it was actually during the Clinton administration. So on one hand, I had to say, media, you're going to stake out at the Hart and Senate building, and this is where the story is going to happen. And then on the other hand, I had to walk over to the press secretary and say, you might want to be prepared if the media comes to you for a stakeout. So you kind of learn what I like to refer to as the politics, the machine, and being diplomatic in your presentation for the media. And this is something that Rubin and I went over several times. So the press release that was really about a history maker, which as he repeated, I got the email that said, you're invited to the president's reception for the Specialty Food Association. Okay, of course I'm thinking my work's done, I'm the queen of media, PR here, we're set. Once we got to the president's reception, the politics changed, and it became a story of career change, which is ironically what I was impressed by his story to begin with. And as he talked about today, we spoke with CNBC after he won the Sophie Awards. Now, what he didn't tell you is CNBC was actually there for 4 other products. They were not there to cover the story on Rubin. So I quickly turned back into Olivia Pope, minus the scandal. And what I mean by that is, in the press mind, or in the press relations mind, if you ever watch Olivia Pope, she goes through this process of connecting the dots. And all these thoughts rush to your head, and in that split second, in that heat of the moment, are you going to be able to say the exact thing that you're supposed to say to get on air or to get in the publication? And that's what happened with CNBC. First person I went to was a camera person. They were like, okay, yeah, we might cover you. Then the second person I went to was the actual producer, and I said, look, just take some B-roll. It's a great story. So he ended up taking the B-roll, took it back to the executives, and they loved it. And they actually just put a bigger spot of Ginger, because obviously they were there for the 4-piece, and a very quick blurb. But we were able to leverage that media onto other mediums, other blogs, other publications, because now we went from local to kind of national. The My Story, My Ad contest, we had to apply. It was kind of happening at the same time with the Specialty Food Association, and that became an honest plea that we did for social media. We actually did a videotape several times, and what we wanted to accomplish from that was getting emotion. They always say in broadcasting there's no story unless there's pictures, and the pictures have to be compelling. They have to bring emotion out in your story. That led us to a New York City press event. Again, PR, several entities were there, similar to the panel that you have here, and a lot of people from the Star-Ledger was there as well. And from that came the 4-part business series that was in the USA Today. And that actually set the tone for media with Ginger and Rubin Canada, because now you had a publication, a national publication that did their fact checking on the business, on the product, and had kind of validated him and his business. And as many of the journalists know, those publications, the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, are some of the first resources that they look at, is why you all see the same news programming on each channel, because they're all kind of looking at those first sets of media. Now you have Facebook and Twitter, all kinds of other social mediums. But that was pretty much the journey with Reuben Canada. So the most important thing to take from this, notice, I talked a lot about Reuben. I talked a lot about Reuben's story. We actually didn't quite get to the product yet. That kind of just evolved from it. What'll happen usually is media folk from restaurants or different publications will actually request your product to taste, and they will actually write a review on your product. So I wanted to ask the panel, starting with Nancy, one piece of advice that you can give to our audience about pitching.
You know, I think as an entrepreneur, there probably would be 5 quick things to keep in mind. It's get out. Coming to this event today is an example of that. I think we all need to get out from our own little business and our own little world more. To make sure your product has a place to live. There was years ago, the people who had, I had been with Fairchild Publication, Rodale, and Savieur, and I remember one point hearing a marketer saying your product always has to have a place to live. Take time to write out your 3 or 4 lines, what you're about, your mission, and keep it in front of you. Put it on a put it on a bulletin board. Just know it, because you'll often come back to that. And as Eric says, you need those you need those words, you need those lines quickly. Third is to make it easy for us. I'm mentioning that step too because Debbie said early on that take some good pictures. I think that's really important. I've had a camera for years. I'm still not a very good photographer. I think it's worth it for you to find somebody who can. It doesn't have to be expensive commercial, but find somebody who's pretty good and get some good shots so you're ready that way. So it's find a place to live, make it easy for us, get out, get some objective help in terms of a PR person, get somebody who really, if you do bring on a PR person, make sure they're connected to your product. I find it drives me crazy when I hear from a PR person who calls in, you can tell is reading a sheet or something. It's like, so find somebody who gets emotional, knows you. So, and just the last advice I would say is when you do get coverage, send a quick thank you note. Because I'm always kind of amazed, and it's funny because we don't get into covering people for a thank you, but it just means a lot because whenever any of us do cover you, we're kind of investing in you.
Sometimes your personal phone call or email or whatever is much more effective and important than a PR company that's more impersonal than you are. Don't assume somebody's not going to listen to you. Don't be afraid to contact the Washington Post, the New York Times, USA Today, but also don't be afraid to call your local newspapers. There's tons of weekly newspapers around that will help you out, plus thousands of blogs and all kinds of ways to get publicity that you wouldn't normally think of. I mean, the PR company can help you there, but stop and look around and see what's around. There's a lot of outlets that can get you publicity. Have something unique. There's thousands of barbecue sauces and coffees and rubs and salad dressings. And if you were to call one of us and said you had a salad dressing, we're going to fall asleep unless you can make us interested in your salad dressing. Does it maybe have a certain ingredient no other salad dressing has? Is there something about the way it's made that's totally unique? Whatever your product is, if it's incredibly unique, we're all going to be interested. If it's just like every other product, we're not. Don't bug people, but don't give up. If you call 5 times a week or 6 times a month, we're all going to say, easy. Everybody's busy. A lot of us get tons of pitches for stories and product ideas. And if you call too much, we're going to put you on that list.
Deborah?
Great thoughts. Wonderful. One of my pet peeves, and maybe it's because I come from the digital world and I don't come from the newspaper world, I wish that the press release template would just go away. I cannot stand for immediate release, Bridgeton, New Jersey, and the date. And to me, I just send me a note and tell me why you're special and why we should care. And It could be, you know, if you have a story to tell a brief story about why my readers would love to hear about your story. It's far more interesting to hear about the person behind the product than it is to hear about the product. Why did you create it? What inspired you? What family member used to make this? What recipes do you use in this? What, you know, all of that stuff is what to me makes a really good, juicy story. Think about how you can fit into holidays and other special events, because we're always doing, you know, unique gifts for the foodie in your life. Or, you know, what's great for you at the Thanksgiving table, like, you know, whatever it is. Think about and go very much in advance, especially with your magazines, if you want to get it included in some kind of seasonal piece.
Get to questions, Peter?
And you've heard Ed and Debbie actually tell you two different things, and that's, you know, Ed says he doesn't want to hear about you, he wants the product. Ed says, tell me the personal story.
I like
So I'm more,
stories.
yeah, and I'm sort of leaning more that way too, because there's only so much room. Even though obviously there's a lot of room online, we're putting more and more food content online, it's at Star Ledger, NJ.com. So there's only so much room in the paper, and to do a story, I'm looking, you know, if you want to get my attention, tell me about yourself. Tell me what makes this, well, tell me about, yeah, as Ed said, there are 1,000 barbecue sauces out there, and rubs, and whatever, and sauces. Give me a nice, heartwarming story, a tragedy, you know, whatever kind of story it is, because we're going to, if your story gets in the paper, it's going to be because of that. It's not going to be because of the product, unless it's really a revolutionary product, something no one has thought of in the last 2,000 years. So it's got to be about you. And don't send the same press release. You know, our attention, and a lot of times, a one-of-a-kind press release, or a sense of humor, a little funky, a little whatever. And one thing, if you want to hear one turn off from me, misspelled press releases. I can't tell you how many press releases, and they go automatically, and I mean automatically in the garbage. You can't spell basic words. I'm not talking to you. I mean the press release person, the media, the public relations person. Write with misspellings, and it goes. I'm not even forget about it. You know, if you can't spell, I'm not going to write about you. That's sort of my.
Wait, do you go through every single one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But like I said, you know, we're a newspaper, so we're not going to have like Deb would be more immediate. She would put, you know, if there's a product, we're not going to write about a product just because it's a new product, because there are hundreds of products introduced in New Jersey every week, or maybe even every day. So we're not going to write just about the product. We're more interested in the story, you know, a human interest story, with it, you know, how maybe this product is changing, you know, it's a trend or part of a trend or whatever.
Just say to the group, as far as advice, decide where you are as a company. If you're at the early stages, you might not want the Oprah effect of national attention. So your press release might be geared more locally. Your story might be more local. But also understand that media, as you have all the variations of journalism up here, is changing drastically. When we were at the New York City press event, there was kind of a somber concept over the room because Amazon had just bought the Wall Street Journal. So everyone was kind of like a little bit more concerned about other things than what was going on at the New York City press event. But in that thinking, as far as social media is concerned, there seems to be a different style of writing that goes around your story. And it's becoming more entertainment, and it's becoming more about kind of almost a sales pitch about the product, less who, what, when, where media style, as Deborah was talking about, and really kind of getting into the senses of your audience, the taste, the smells, the aroma, pulling them into your product and really being descriptive about the actual product. So when you're writing your press releases, don't just think of one style of journalism. Try to think of who are you actually pitching to, if it's going to be on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, if it's going to be broadcast or print or what have you. Think about what they're going to take, and take the time to read the publication and read the website. Some people just start sending out releases and they haven't even taken the opportunity to actually investigate what's going on with that medium. At this time, I wanted to see if anyone wanted to be daring and pitch us a story. about their product.
Elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch, exactly. You
Alright.
you button down these guys at a trade show.
Can you guys hear me okay? Come a little closer if you want. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Alexander. I'm owner and founder of Iva Foods. We specialize in manufacturing vegan cookies and cakes. I started the company about 4 years ago with a vision to create food products that had absolutely no alterations, no genetically modified ingredients, and no artificial preservatives. I made that a promise to myself that no matter what I do in the food industry, I will stick to those values because my mother suffered from breast cancer and she was a survivor. But what happened was after the radiation for so many years, it destroyed her body. And it was only after she changed her eating habits and went basically vegan and removed all type of chemicals from her body that she reversed everything and she made a 100% recovery.
Are you a New Jersey product?
I'm a New Jersey product, we're based out of Newark. So our cookies, when you consume our products, it's like having a worldwide experience. I spent over a year searching around the world for the finest ingredients to make the best cookie that doesn't taste vegan and tastes phenomenal. So our chocolate begins with using 100% real chocolate from the Ivory Coast. Our vanilla extract comes from the Bourbon Island, and we buy those both directly from the artisans that produce it, small family-owned businesses, because we don't like to have a lot of barriers between from the consumer to the producer, so there's complete transparency. Our sugar comes from the Mauritius Islands, that we also buy from a local co-op there. So once again, you have complete transparency because it's a consumer's right to know where their food comes from, and that's a value that I deeply instill, and it's part of the roots of our company. And like I said, I called so many companies to ask for specific ingredients and what's put in it, and so many times there's well, we don't give that information out, but I believe that's a right to know. So if you go to our website, it tells you where all our ingredients come from. We also do an oatmeal raisin cookie version as well, with the same story, with the same background, with the same emphasis put behind the sourcing of the ingredients. And we also have a gluten-free version of that as well. So when you try most of our product, if you try all of our products, you'll never know they're vegan, and even our gluten-free line, most people prefer that more, just to kind of reinforce the point that the product doesn't taste like it's gluten-free. We also believe in constructive capitalism. So part of our profits goes back to a women-owned co-op in Thailand that helps bring the Thai people above the poverty line. And today we have about 200 women in a co-op that we started in 2008 that help them rise above the poverty line, as well as preventing the women from being pushed into the sex trade, because in the Thai government, they only educate the children to 12, and the men go into working the fields, and the women get tricked into going into sex tourism. And a lot of times the families cannot support all those children, and unfortunately what happens. We also have a lot of environmental programs to help preserve the environment, as well as animal rehabilitation and rescue. So to date, my mother and I, we've rescued about 6,000 dogs over the past 6 years, which is a lot, but my mom's a phenomenal person. She's been a huge support figure for me. She's also a chef, so it kind of runs in the family.
Are you partners in the business? Or
No, I own the business, but like I said, my mom's the boss, and I kind of follow her, even though I own the company. So she.
I don't want to step on
Yeah.
your
I'm sorry,
pitch,
this time, yeah.
Just, real quick, go down the road.
I would be pitching to health and wellness bloggers, mommy bloggers, especially, there's 1,000,001 mommy bloggers, but there's mommy bloggers that are gluten-free mommy bloggers. And there's mommy bloggers that write just about healthy snacks for their children. So I would definitely be reaching out to those real niche people that really concentrate on what you sell. Because you're outside of New Jersey, you're distributing outside of New Jersey?
Yeah, we're nationwide now.
Yeah.
But we're based in New Jersey.
Yeah, but I would definitely be reaching out to some of those brand advocates that could, send them some cookies and get reviews from them.
Okay.
Has anybody written about you?
Yeah, we were in Eco 8, we were already Eco 18. When we did a fancy food show 2 years, they wrote a nice article. We were they do top 18 food companies at the food show out of 2,800 companies that they reviewed. And we were one of their top 18 picks. And no big name, just a lot of bloggers wrote about us. DC Vegan wrote a huge article about us, saying we're the best vegan carrot cake they ever had, and cookies as well. And you would never be able to tell they're vegan.
Do you have a nice media section on your website or something?
Yeah, maybe a media section for you is probably a lot more elaborate. I just kind of I developed that myself, so I don't know, maybe there's things missing.
No, just as long as you
But-
have a media section with links to all of the articles that people have written about.
That's typically, yeah, if you go to our homepage, it has snippets of a lot of, the top 10 quotes, favorite cookie at the fancy food show, best cookie I ever tried. I didn't even realize it was gluten-free, things like that, so.
Just in terms of your pitch, I would be careful, all of the good works that you do that were coming in at the end, I would really edit that down.
Okay.
Because they were all amazing, but I was starting to get almost overwhelmed. So maybe stay with the gluten-free and story of your mom and her experience, but, kind of edit that down. And again, having somebody else, a friend, a writer, a PR professional, just take a look at that.
Okay.
Have you emailed us or sent us anything our way? Because this is right in our
No,
backyard.
yeah, no, I haven't, so.
Why not?
I hope that's on your to-do list tomorrow.
I was waiting for this moment.
But again, again, you don't have to be based in Newark, but I mean, that helps.
There's tons of buttons you're pushing.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I like the good works part of it. It's not just, again, it's not just a food story. It's a person story. It's social conscious,
Social entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's also
It's
like even the
a
sugar.
couple different,
Yeah,
as Ed said, buttons that you're pushing there.
yeah, a lot of companies, they use fake vanilla. We emphasize that we use true, real vanilla, not artificial imitation vanilla. The sugar is phenomenal. It's been a long
Why
time.
chocolate from the Ivory Coast? I've never known.
Well,
It's the best in the world.
It's the best in the
Ivory
world,
Coast,
yeah.
Yes.
And it's also, the chocolate that we have is also soy-free. It was the only ingredient that we had that has soy in it, but we found them that has a soy-free, so all of our product lines are 100% soy-free as well, for people that have soy allergies. But it's about creating that personal experience. I mean, yeah, I could have bought chocolate from Hershey's, for example, but if they're giving me the transparency that I want, I think that they said that 90% of the chocolate that's produced in the world comes from slave labor conditions. So I didn't want to contribute to that, so we found producers that we buy direct from, and we have a review of their practices, from the workers to the local environments, the compensations, so that's.
I'm surprised that you wouldn't have emailed the Star Ledger. It seems like such a natural thing to do.
Well, what happened was last year we launched at the Fancy Food Show, and this was touching a lot of buttons for me because I wanted to have a very kind of home-style made product, and everybody would try the product and everyone would go crazy about it, but then they would go to the packaging section of our booth and be like, ooh, do you have anything that's a little different, a little more commercial looking, which is everything I didn't want to do. Because
But
I didn't want to look
listen to your
commercial.
customers.
I wanted to have, a nice personal, like it was made in someone's grandma's kitchen kind of look. Even, to the extent that, the cookies, I didn't want them perfectly uniform. I wanted it to look like it was kind of hand cut. So so then we spent 8 months revising the packaging, and we just relaunched the whole new line with new packaging 2 months ago. And we've just been busy doing the production and getting, all this stuff set up. And I guess we'll email each other now that we have it basically ready to go.
Erica, a couple words, what you think, and then I'll close it up.
I was talking in reference to Peter, the social entrepreneurship is what attracted me the most, and I think it seems like you're struggling with the PR and the marketing. So
Yeah,
you
that's
really
not my
gotta,
plan.
Yeah, find what your niche is to, especially you went to the fancy food show, so you were able to kind of compare what ends up being, getting the most attention.
Yeah, we had to get a dedicated PR person.
Have you ever heard of Unreal Candy?
No.
Take a look at that company and what they're doing with PR and their video and everything. It was founded by a 13-year-old boy who decided that his father took his Halloween candy away, so he decided he was going to unjunk candy. And he had to go to Spain for a chef, and he tells this big long story in a really great video, and he's just got some really big people behind him now getting this out, so just take a look at that.
Tom's shoes too.
Yeah,
Social
Tom's, yeah.
entrepreneur.
We wouldn't want to be that.
Right.
Okay, so I just want to say, give yourselves a big round of applause, because coming out here, doing things like this, getting out there, that's the slog. So, we hope that it's fun. We hope that this was enjoyable and not just work, but, that it can be a grind, and things like this, we hope that we inspired you, give you bursts of energy, some fresh ideas, some good contacts, and, fill out your feedback
Make
forms.
sure that you fill out your evaluation forms.
Help Rutgers make better sessions for the next round.
Right.